Welcome back to Success with Steven. My name is Steven Smith. On this channel, we discuss all things financial literacy. Exactly 18 months ago, I decided to lock myself away in my room with nothing but a laptop and a small amount of savings. And I did this for one reason. Most of us who start their journey to make money as a business owner or an entrepreneur fall into a very simple trap of splitting our focus. We'll jump from business model to business model and we'll never end up making any real money. And the reason for that is because we don't cut out distractions that keep us from actually seeing real results. The reality of the situation is 99% of reasonable business models that you hear about on YouTube, they actually do work. But you have to stick with one and remove anything that's distracting you from achieving your desired results. Research would suggest that a significant majority of millionaires are self-made, and a large portion of them have achieved this through business ownership. However, 90% of businesses that start will fail. So in today's video, I'm going to take you through my step-by-step blueprint of how I was able to make $100,000 without having to even leave my room. So without further ado, let's jump right into the video. Let's begin by discussing the 4 pillars that made this possible for me: mindset, focus, skill set, and separation. I forced myself to overcome key challenges that we all face today. One is expecting instant results because we live in a time where on-demand, reduced attention spans, and instant gratification are the norm. Our mental wiring has changed our expectations of how quickly things should actually occur. As a result, we jump from idea to idea and fail to ever go from concept to profit because the time taken to achieve this is usually greater than 6 months, which seems to be the upper limit of a lot of people's persistence ceiling. The solution to overcome this challenge is mindset. Specifically, this means consciously entering any serious business models with a 2 to 3 year commitment and framing the idea or business as a long-term project straight from the beginning. If you do this, 2 things will occur as a result. The first is achieving a greater degree of focus because you're mentally committed to riding through the highs and lows of your journey. Consequently, you're less likely to give up on the first sign of resistance, but perhaps more significantly, you're also able to push beyond the initial excitement phase of any new idea, which only lasts temporarily. Secondly, by implementing this 2 to 3 year mindset, you increase your ability to build your skill sets and improve your level of knowledge. Now, just for clarity, we know a lot of people on the internet like to make excuses instead of results, so I didn't literally lock myself in a room for 18 months. I was, of course, speaking figuratively. But I created an environment where a majority of my time was spent working, giving myself maybe 1 or 2 days of rest. But be clear, a majority of that time I was working, and I'm still doing that to this day, which brings us to separation. If you're not focusing on your work, you may have anxiety about the difficulty of the task at hand or about incomplete tasks you're not getting done currently. This anxiety may lead you to search for something to make you feel more comfortable and relieve your anxiety. So you may look for something new or unrelated just to distract yourself. You may also have a fear of missing out on something fundamentally important that others are currently experiencing, which is a fear that is exasperated by the use of social media. The first initial step to help you separate is to reflect on and understand the cause of your distractions. Next, create a workspace that's conducive of focus and productivity. Eliminate any clutter, any noise, any other external distractions that could hinder your progress. And then internally, if you have to put a picture of your goals, whether it be a car, your family, if it's money, that's fine. Take a picture of your bank account if it's in the negative. Do whatever it takes so that you can stay on task, and eventually this will become a habit. So now that we've got you in the right state of mind, let's discuss what business really is and why most people get it wrong. When people talk about starting a business, most of them overcomplicate it. They think they need a unique idea that's never been done before, or they only focus on making money and not putting themselves into a customer's perspective to figure out why people spend money in the first place. This is where your thought process goes off the rails. Think about this logically for 1 second. If no one else is doing your idea, it's probably that there's no need for that product or that service. And that's not negativity, that's just market logic. If there's no demand, there's no business. A far better question to ask is, what problem are people paying a lot of money to solve? The more painful the problem and the more people are experiencing it, the more opportunities there are. If there are hundreds of companies trying to solve the same problem, then good. That means there's real demand. In fact, the best problems are the ones that can never fully be solved. For example, people will always get sick as long as they're alive. You can have thousands of competitors or other doctors and you can still thrive in your field. Why? Because the market is in demand and the problem is never ending. So yes, we understand now all business is simply helping someone solve a problem. The bigger the problem, the more valuable you are. So right now, your social media feed is probably full of people trying to sell you the perfect business model. Think drop shipping, Amazon FBA, TikTok shops, it's endless. Most of them are just marketing to sell the idea of starting a business. That's their business, selling you the idea. Not unlike this video that you're currently watching at this moment. And like I said before, most of these business models, they do work. But here's the ugly truth. Most of those models are built on short-term arbitrage. Remember in the beginning of the video, I already talked about the mindset it takes to do this. I make long, extensive, complicated videos and I try to answer tough questions in the simplest, most effective way possible. The reason I do this is for a long-term business model. On the flip side, they have other videos that are designed to exploit little gaps in the system and they might work for a moment, but when the market shifts, and trust me, it always shifts, you're left holding the bag. So for example, I have spoken about Amazon FBA on here. I have plenty of videos that have talked about starting Amazon FBA, exactly how I do it, how much money that I've made, and I talk about the problems with it and why I do not use that as my primary source of income. It's a small way to supplement it. Now, I say all that because instead of trying to chase trends, ask yourself, what is a problem that people will still have 10 years from now? Is it weight loss? Is it saving money? Is it getting leads for their small business? If the answer is yes, then you found a market, not a trend in a market. And that's where you want to plant your flag. So remember, a long-term business can be something that's in the finance, the health field, education, technology like AI, or even distribution where maybe you're doing something in logistics. Something short term would be like drop shipping or Amazon FBA, a TikTok shop affiliate, Turo rental cars, Uber or Lyft. No matter how you look at those things, being a Uber or Lyft driver is different from being the creator of Uber or Lyft. Being a Turo rental car host is different from having a rental car company. Being a TikTok shop affiliate is different from you being a sponsor of a product or a service. Amazon FBA is different from you actually having your own e-commerce business. That goes double for drop shipping because with drop shipping, you don't even touch the product. So these are things that in the short term, yes, they work. Yes, they can supplement your income, but I would not hang my hat on these as being viable, sustainable business models. Another myth that keeps people stuck is the belief that you can't start a business without having money. They say, I need funding. I need a logo. I need a website. I need software. I need an investor. But the truth is, you don't need money to start. You need resourcefulness. Some of the most successful entrepreneurs on the planet started with nothing. No funding, no team, no fancy equipment. What they did have was the ability to figure things out, scrap together tools, and keep moving when everything falls apart. When I started this, I started with $800 in my checking, a laptop, and a Sony camera that my mom gave me, and that's pretty much it. And from there, I created a business by staying locked in from day one and consistent with my business model. So if you're waiting on capital before you even take your first step, you're giving away your power. With that said, you'll always feel dependent on something outside of yourself. And when things go wrong, which they always do, you'll blame your lack of resources instead of just building your capacity to adapt. Resourcefulness is the real capital. If you've got that, the money will definitely come later. And one of the fastest ways to kill your motivation is comparing yourself to someone who's already winning. You look at their beautiful website, you look at their polished Instagram, their hundreds of 5-star reviews, and you think, I'll never get there. But here's what you don't see. The years of work that it took to get there, the failed launches, the sleepless nights, the rejections, the products that didn't sell, the ads that bombed, the content that no one watched, you're looking at their highlight reel, not the blooper reel that came before it. I don't care who you are, everyone starts ugly, everyone starts small. Don't romanticize someone else's finish line and compare compared to your starting blocks. Your job isn't to be perfect. Your job is to begin. Your first website, it's going to suck. Your first product is going to be flawed. Your first sales call will be awkward. That's how this is supposed to be. But if you stick with it, you adjust and you keep going, you'll look back in a year and laugh at how far you've actually come. So if we stop using money as the excuse to why we can't do anything, we'll start to honestly get some results. Now, how do you actually get to people if you don't use money? Well, a phone, an email address, and a willingness to get uncomfortable, that is the answer. You can create organic content. In the past, building an audience online took years. You needed a blog, you have to understand SEO, and the competition was brutal. But today, you can make a single piece of content and go viral overnight. Even if you've never posted anything before, or you have 0 followers or 0 subscribers, platforms like TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, they have completely changed the game. You no longer need to pay for play. You just need to create something that people care about. So if you've uncovered the problem that you want to solve, you understand that you actually don't need money. You just need to be resourceful with plenty of tools that are available to you at this time, especially for free. And you know how to actually reach your customer base or your target market through creating organic content. You need to learn how you can actually sell to people. If you want to build a business, a real profitable, self-sustaining business, there is one skill that will determine whether you succeed or fail. And it's not design. We know it's not branding, and we know that it's not even marketing per se. It's just sales. Sales is the ultimate multiplier. If you know how to sell, how to convince someone to take action and exchange money for a solution, you will never be broke. Because sales is the engine that powers everything. Without it, your ideas die in your head. Your product will sit on the shelf. Your invoices never get paid. It doesn't matter how great your product is if no one buys it. I learned this the hard way. I've worked so many sales jobs, and when I had my first sales jobs, I ran into a huge problem because people didn't actually want to buy the products that I was selling. So I found myself spending time convincing people that they had a problem before I could even introduce the solution. That's when I realized something that changed everything. You never want to sell someone on the problem. You want to sell to people who are already painfully aware of it. Trying to educate someone about why a product should matter is an uphill battle. But when you enter a market where people are already looking for help, they're actively seeking a fix, all you need to do is offer a better solution than your competition. So let's clear something up. Sales has a bad reputation because people associate it with pressure and manipulation. But real sales, it's not sleazy. It's about clarity. It's about helping someone understand the value of your solution faster and more clearly than anybody else could. A great salesperson doesn't push, they guide. They uncover a customer's pain, they ask the right questions, they paint the picture of what life could be like after the problem is solved, and they offer a bridge from point A to point B using their products or their services. If you want to succeed as an entrepreneur, you must become a student of sales. And this means role playing, practicing, recording yourself or recording calls, listening to a great closer, studying human psychology, understand buyer behavior, because when you can sell, you can lead, you can grow, and ultimately you can win. If you've made it this far, you found a real market, you've thought of a product or a service that will be a solution to a painful problem, and you've created an idea in your head of how you can start selling. You would officially be in business if you've combined all of these things. But here is the truth that most people never tell you. What you've built so far is not actually a business, in the traditional sense at least. It's a job that you've created for yourself. Now, there's nothing wrong with this. I'm doing this myself right now, and being self-employed is one of the most freeing experiences of your life. You make your own hours, you set your own rules, and you don't have to answer to anyone technically. However, what I've learned is if you want to build real wealth and actually change your life, you can't just stop at creating a job. You must move on from self-employed to business builder. And that transition comes down to one word: leverage. Leverage is what separates people like me who grind 16 hours a day from those who build scalable machines that earn them money even while they're sleeping. Leverage in this sense means doing something less, but actually getting more results. There are 4 types of leverage in business. There's people, which is hiring team members, contractors, or freelancers who can execute tasks so you don't have to. There's also capital, which we talk about all the time on this channel, using money to make more money, ads, investment tools, or infrastructure. There's also code, which is automating tasks. We've talked about that when it comes to AI, software, or technologies. Then we have content, creating videos like this, podcasts, posts, or digital assets that spread your message without you having to repeat yourself. When you first start out, you rely on manual labor a lot. Human effort. You're the one making the calls, sending emails, fulfilling services, or creating content. That is a normal thing. It builds grit, it builds character, but it does not necessarily build wealth. Wealth comes from building systems that allow you to multiply your effort. I'm currently in the process of doing that right now. I'm learning ways that I can actually work less, but expand my reach at what I'm currently doing today. So just know you want to build machines that are made of people, tools, and assets that generate income, whether you're at your desk or you're on vacation. Because here's the problem. If you don't build systems, what you once thought was freeing yourself, being self-employed, starts to become a trap. And here's the harsh reality. If your business falls apart the moment you step away, you don't own a business, you own a trap. You've built a machine where you're the engine, the gas, and the driver. And the second you get sick or go on vacation or you get burnt out, the whole thing stops moving. That's why systems matter. So my recommendation is documenting your process. Learn from others that are in your niche, because a system will allow you to train people quickly and offload responsibilities. You want to do this to scale your offer while maintaining quality and to eventually remove yourself from daily operations. So I want to leave you guys with something nice and something inspiring, because I make a ton of videos talking about the same content in various ways, but ultimately it's very difficult to talk about all of these concepts because some of them are educational, some of them you can do step by step, some of them are psychology. It's so hard to really just say exactly what it takes to be successful because there are so many moving components that make it virtually impossible to cover everything with a single video. But the final piece of this puzzle isn't tactical. It's all mental, because long-term success doesn't come from strategy alone. It really does come from how you think. And what I've learned after reading a ton of books and just doing a ton of research is that millionaires don't think like employees. They don't wait for permission. They don't let the fear of failure hold them back. They expect obstacles and they solve them. They don't waste time on things that don't move the needle. They think in terms of leverage, in terms of scale, and in terms of impact. And most importantly, they understand one fundamental truth. The only true security in life comes from betting on yourself. Not a paycheck, not a title, not a pension. Those things can disappear in an instant. But your skills, your vision, your ability to create value in the marketplace, that's freedom. And if you can solve a real problem and communicate that clearly and deliver it consistently, you will never be broke again. I can promise you that. In fact, you'll do much better than just survive. You will thrive, because the most likely way for you to become a millionaire or to be wealthy isn't luck. It's not shortcuts, and it's damn sure not the lottery. It's about building a business that solves a real problem for people and doing it better than anyone else can do it. You don't need perfect timing or a genius idea or permission. You just need to start. If this video gave you some clarity, direction, or even a little spark of inspiration to finally go for it, then please subscribe, drop a comment, and let me know what business idea that you're starting. And if you want a deep dive on marketing or how to turn strangers into customers using content and ads, check out the video that I linked in the description. It'll break all that down. Once again, guys, thanks for watching, and go build something that actually matters. And you have a wonderful day.